Today's guest is from Chicago. She converted to Islam very recently in February 2020. That was 2 months ago. Her name is Shavon Quinn Woods.
But me and my husband both started to have like a disconnect from Christianity. We just felt like, like I've always believed that there's one God. And I used to always tell my kids, I'm just happy that, my husband was strong enough to take that journey first, and me listening to him and seeing a difference in him, that's really what really started to change my mind. I saw a difference in him, the way he, started acting, and I just saw God moving in his life, and it just it just made me want to learn more. And as I started to learn more, I knew that this is the way that we need to be. I'm definitely comfortable because I've always felt this way, but I was brought up a Christian. We never got to decide what religion or what path we're supposed to go. I'm definitely comfortable with it because I've always felt that it was one God, and I always believed that there should be one religion. We all should be worshiping the same God. It's just so wonderful. I feel so different now. I look at things different now, like totally different. It shows you terrorist stuff, and that's like the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest misconception about Muslims, is that that's the first thing people associate with them is the terrorists. And I'll be honest, I was ignorant before I became Muslim, because that's all you see on TV. That's all that they show you.
And we are happy to have you on the show today, Shavon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome. So, yeah, you must be very excited. You've only been Muslim for 2 months now.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Tell us a bit about yourself, where you're at in your life at the moment.
Okay, so I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm married. I have 3 children. My husband actually accepted Islam on February the 14th, on the day of our anniversary. And then after that, I made my decision to also accept Islam. And as of right now, we're still learning. We definitely know that this is, the best decision we've made. And right now we're just trying to learn, and actually trying to learn, everything we need to do with Ramadan, to get a better understanding of Ramadan, and better understanding of the Quran. And, we're just really studying, reading the Quran and trying to, get a better understanding of, Allah's path, the way he wants us to go.
Okay, great. And how long were you thinking about this conversion?
I would say it's been a while, because I was Christian. I've always been a Christian my whole life. My whole world was Christian. But me and my husband both started to have like a disconnect from Christianity. We just felt like, like I've always believed that there's one God. And I used to always tell my kids, I'm pretty sure God's probably looking at us like, why do we have all these different religions when it should just be one? I used to always tell my kids that, like religion is like forming your own gang down here, and I always would say that. And we were faithful going to church, and if, I would say within maybe like the last 3 months, my husband probably a little longer than past 3 months, we started to have like a disconnect. And I just kept praying and asking God, show me the way to you. I want to know the way to you. Just deliver me from myself. I just want to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And my husband actually had started reading the Quran before me. I was a little hesitant because I felt like, we've always said Jesus, is our Savior. And now I was somewhat scared, like I don't want to seem like I'm turning my back on Jesus. But, the more I started reading the Quran, and I realized, that it's the same God. It's just that, Muhammad was a different, was the last prophet that was sent to us. But see, in Christianity, we were believing that Jesus was the Son of God, and believe that that was our way to Him. When you know it's just picking up the Quran and just reading it, you have so much of a better understanding of Allah and God, the way that you're supposed to live your life. I'm just happy that my husband was strong enough to take that journey first, and me listening to him and seeing a difference in him. That's really what really started to change my mind. I saw a difference in him, the way he started acting, and I just saw God moving in his life, and it just it just made me want to learn more. And as I started to learn more, I knew that this is the way that we need to be.
Okay, and you mentioned that you have children as well. How old are they at the moment?
My oldest is 17. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Okay, and how are your children dealing with this transition now?
So my 8-year-old, when we first started, he wants to, that's my son. We have two girls, and our baby is the boy. So my husband, began, praying, doing his 5 prayers. My son asked him to watch. He wants to do everything that his father does. So it was no problem with him. My middle, she embraced it once I explained to her. You know, I explained everything to her. She embraced it. My oldest, because I had her so involved in Christianity. I had her, she was in the choir, she was in praise dance. She's still on the verge, like she's still asking, like she's asking me, well, can I be a Christian, and can I be a Muslim? I said, you can't be both. I'm like, no, you can't be both. And so I'm trying to guide her. So she's feeling how I was feeling, like she's afraid, and like, I don't know if this is right. I'm afraid. I don't want to turn my back on Jesus. But I said, you're not turning your back on Jesus. You have to look at it as, I don't think God will be upset if you accept Him. He's our Savior. He's the one we should be worshiping. He's the one who created Jesus. He created all the prophets. But my 17-year-old, she's still learning, and I'm just hoping, and asking, hoping that Allah softens her heart, that she does go ahead and accept it. But the other two have already. Yeah. But as of right now, as far as Ramadan, they are doing Ramadan with us.
Yeah,
All 3 of them
excellent.
are.
That's great. That's great. And so now your belief in Jesus, now that you've learnt the Islamic perspective of Jesus, can you tell me now a little bit how you feel about it, and are you comfortable with it?
I'm definitely comfortable because I've always felt this way. But it's like, I was brought up a Christian. I like we never got to decide what religion or what path we're supposed to go. So I'm definitely comfortable with it because I've always felt that it was one God, and I always believed that there should be one religion. We all should be worshiping the same God, you know, instead of worshiping Jesus and worshiping Mary, as different Christians and different religions do. But I definitely think this is it's a beautiful religion. I don't even say a religion. I say it's a way of life. It's the way that we're supposed to live. It's this guidance, to get us to you know to show us how we're supposed to live here on earth, so that we are rewarded in the hereafter. You know, and to me, it seems like this is the only religion that takes away the takes away race, takes away other, people believing that you have superiority over another, over another individual. It's the only religion, I would say, that just really teaches you to be kind to everyone. I'm not saying Christianity doesn't teach you that, but Ramadan is like, it's just really showing you, what you're supposed to be doing, because I know I was told, I was told, like, if you can't fast, that, instead of fasting, you can, do a good deed and feed a homeless person, or feed the needy. In Christianity, they never really, I mean, of course they did, volunteer and help things, but it's like, Islam is so on helping each other, helping your brother, helping your sister. It's just drilled in you every day, and you have and what you're praying in 5 times a day. You have no room to be evil. You have no room to be selfish. Because you're constantly praying to Allah, and you're constantly asking for guidance, and He's constantly, you know, giving you guidance. And I just, it's just a beautiful religion to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there about the five prayers and how it, it gets your connection with God happening every day. And you also mentioned that, so you guys are already doing Ramadan, and
Yes,
you're trying to do the fasts, and you
yes,
also mentioned that you've started the five prayers. Can you tell me a little bit about that,
yes.
and how it's affecting your faith?
So now I would say, because I don't know Arabic, but I don't know. I'm not really good at Arabic. I don't know all of it, but I do look at YouTube to see what I am saying. So now I do know some words, because in the beginning I did feel like a disconnect, because I'm used to, when I was a Christian, I'm used to just, speaking in English and praying. So I kept feeling like I wasn't connected to Him, by me just saying, speaking, sitting there listening to the prayers and listening to them in Arabic. But I wrote them down in English for myself, so I can know and study, so I can know what I'm saying. Because I feel like if I don't know what I'm saying, I can't believe what I'm saying. So it helped me tremendously by writing it down and understand that, alhamdulillah means praise, praise be to Allah, to God. Um, and just getting a better, it's like so hard to explain, because I feel it's just so wonderful. I feel so different now. I look at things different now, like totally different. But um, yeah, just like I was saying, like I'm not sure about. I don't know how to speak Arabic, and since the mosque is closed, they were offering classes, but as soon as it opens up, I definitely plan to go back, for the revert classes to learn Arabic, so I can be more, to be able to speak the language better and understand it better.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's no rush for you because you're only just 2 months old. The
Yeah.
main thing is to try and connect your heart, which is what you're doing by learning the English and the words and the meanings. And over
Mhm.
time, I'm sure you'll pick up the Arabic, most definitely.
Okay. Another thing is, as well, because like in Christianity, they had gospel music, and that was like my biggest, another way that I worship God. But at first I wasn't able to find, because the majority of the things I found on YouTube were in Arabic. So I still, wasn't able to like really listen to the music. But I did find, some artists in English, Americanized artists that sung about Allah. So I do listen to that, and now I am listening to in Arabic. Like I listen to 99 Names of Allah, because on YouTube it tells you what it says in English as well. So, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You'll definitely find you'll find get a lot of spiritual benefit out of listening to the Arabic and the nasheeds and the songs and so forth. So tell me now about your interaction with the Quran.
I make well, I make sure I'm reading it every day, and just getting an understanding, just pretty much understanding, each as I go through each passage, just getting a better understanding of how we're supposed to live, as far as like, as a Christian, in the Bible it said we're not supposed to eat swine, but the majority of us were still eating swine. But now that I'm reading the Quran, and and it tells us, what is not, lawful. We've cut out a lot of different foods, and I've always been like a real picky eater. So um, that was like my biggest problem. I was always a picky eater, and but now, we have to change our whole lifestyle, because now we go to a different grocery store now. We go to a grocery store to get halal meat to make sure. So we just making sure that we follow the different steps or the different guides that Allah has set place for us. Because it's actually it's healthy for you. It's a reason why he set these standards for us. And the actual I love chicken, so like the halal chicken tastes totally it tastes healthier than the regular processed chicken that we would eat.
Excellent. And so, how have you done most of your research about Islam in the last 2 months? We've at the moment we've had this the lockdown, and we can't get out of our houses. I'm not sure what it's like in Chicago.
It's like, yeah, it's definitely hurting in Chicago. Mostly me, on the internet, looking at different things. Although you can't believe everything on the internet, because when the first time you put in Muslim, you know, um, it shows you terrorist stuff, and that's like the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest misconception about Muslims, is that that's the first thing people associate with them is terrorists, you know, and I'll be honest, I was ignorant before I became Muslim, because that's all you see on TV. That's all that they show you. You know, when you see Muslims, you think terrorists, but that is not it. Because you can't stereotype one group of people and think that, because if that's the case, you can say Christians are, because some of the KKK are Christians. So it's bad in everybody. Some people, some religions have people who are not following what they should be following, I should say.
Okay. And earlier you mentioned that your husband was the first to convert.
hmm
Um, can you tell us a little bit about why he converted, and has he shared that with you?
Yeah, he's pretty much like I was saying. We went to church every Sunday, and we both started to have a disconnect from church. And we went to a mega church. I was like a huge church here in Chicago. And I know one day he looked up. I believe he looked up to see like how much the pastor was worth, and like this pastor was worth like $5 million. And someone we knew had passed away, and that church wouldn't even let the person have a funeral. They wanted to make sure that their tithes were paid up before they let them have a funeral service there. And that just rubbed him the wrong way. He's like, as Christians, we shouldn't. When he was a Christian, he's like, as Christians, we shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't always be about money. And it seemed like the church that we were going to was always about paying your tithes, but it seemed like our tithes was just going to him. Our tithe, we were like, well, our money is not going towards helping someone. We want, and I mean, not, don't get me wrong, the church was doing, various different things. He had a lot of different things going on, but it just seemed like it was all about money. Every Sunday we talked about prosperity this, prosperity, how to be prosperous, and we wanted more. Like it's more to life than just being prosperous. We wanted a deeper connection with God, and we weren't getting it there.
Okay. And so you mentioned, this sort of disconnect that you guys were getting from the church. Were there any other things that were making you look for another faith?
That's pretty much what it was, because when we were going to church, I take notes all the time, and like I looked over my notes from 2019, from 2018, and it was the same message about prosperity. Um, and I was just like, it has to be more to God. It has to be a better message for us. It has to be something else, um, for us than just talking about prosperity every Sunday. I mean, we have other things we learned, but to be honest, I, we never read the entire Bible. We never read the Bible. Like when we go to church, he'll give us a scripture. We read a scripture, and we always are trying to connect scriptures to our life. Like we'll go over to this book, go to Psalms, and connect this. You have this issue. You go over here and get this scripture. You go over here and get this scripture. But with the Quran, like once you pick it up, you want to keep reading. Like you just continue to keep reading, and you want that knowledge. That you have a totally different feeling. I'm not for sure about other people, but I had a totally different feeling from me reading the Bible and me reading the Quran. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like we never actually read the full Bible. I don't know too many Christians who actually read the full Bible versus like my next door neighbor who's Muslim. They've been Muslim all their life and they've read the whole Quran, but it's like we just took bits and pieces of the Bible to connect with ourselves, and versus reading the whole book.
Okay, and your neighbors, you say they're Muslim. Did you get
Yes.
any influence from them
Oh, yeah.
to help you decide to convert?
Oh yeah, definitely we did. My husband's, spoke to her husband spoke to the male first, and got more information about him. He took him to the mosque, um, and when he got ready to convert, and then I went over and spoke to his wife. I asked her questions, as far as um, about the kids and about Ramadan. I asked her various questions and whatnot. And they both were very, had a big influence on it. Helping us, as we, got ready to convert. They were there. They were very supportive. Any questions we had, we were able to call them. And, yeah.
And how long ago was that before you actually converted when you started talking with them about Islam?
Um, I would say maybe like December. My husband, I know he was much sooner. He was like maybe like probably like the fall of last year. But me personally, when I started talking to her about it was about December, January.
Okay, and before talking to them, had you been talking to any other Muslims or had any interaction with Muslims?
No, I never. I told her when I said she's the only Muslim I know. I know because, like I said before, everyone I know is Christian. My whole world was Christian. So they were the only Muslims that we knew.
Okay, excellent. And so in this last 2 months, now that you've been praying and fasting and reading the Quran, can you feel a difference in your spiritual life?
I do definitely. I look at things totally different. I'm always thinking now about well now we of course going to lock down, but I'm always thinking of ways I can try to help somebody, or or like I was asking my husband, like once we are able to go out, I want to go out and feed the homeless, or just try to connect more with more Muslims and get a better understanding of what we to see how they do things. But yeah, I definitely look at things totally different.
Yeah, and something that happens to a lot of converts to Islam is this a stage of consequences. So this would be like negative consequences where family members or friends do not really accept your decision. Have you
Mhm.
felt any of that yet?
My friends have been supportive, but I will say when I first, like my husband first converted, and I was telling one of my friends, that my husband was thinking about it, and they were like, "Oh, well, hopefully he'll get over that phase." They they thought it was a phase. Like she's like, "Well, hopefully he'll get over that phase," and I was like, "No, it's not. It's not a phase. It's faith." And but when I try to explain it to them, a lot of them are not um, accepting. Like they do shut down. Like they like, okay, that's what you want to do, but no, I'm not. I'm going to stay Christian. But they have been supportive as far as my decision. But me trying to speak to them because I wanted to share with them what I read in the Quran and share with them. But I can tell that they see how they got it up.
Okay, great. And I noticed when I was talking to you earlier, I saw you on the video, on the Zoom call, and you were wearing your hijab. Can you tell me a little bit about your decision to do this?
Well, see, I haven't. So, like, my neighbor next door told me that, and I'm not for sure if this is correct. I said I was going to ask the imam, but she told me that, like, she said she's been Muslim all her life, but she said she had just started wearing hers 5 years ago. So I wear it, but I don't wear it all the time. Like before the pandemic, when we went to the mosque, I definitely wore it when we went to the mosque out of respect. But on an everyday, I was not. I don't wear it every day. But I think I may wear it. I'm still not sure if I'm going to wear it every day yet.
Yeah, I
Mm,
understand. Yeah,
yeah.
Islam is a long process. You don't want to try and rush everything at once. And this is what happens to a lot of converts is they have this feeling of, oh, I have so much to make up to God and I did so many wrongs. Now I
Yeah.
have to, do everything at once, and it can backfire as well. So,
Yeah.
take your time and,
Yeah, that's what she told me. She said it's baby steps. She said Allah would definitely still be, happy with you doing baby steps, your intentions.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
But you're definitely right. You definitely feel like I have so much I need to do. I need to make up, and you know, like oh my God, I've been lost for like all my life, and that was like the biggest thing. I'm like, my whole entire life, my whole everyone I know. I'm like, man, it's just like when you read the Quran, like man, it's so many people who are lost. But if you just pick up the book and just do some research, and just realize everything what seems to be right doesn't mean that it's right. You have to research for yourself. You know, I've always been a researcher, and I love reading. I love researching. I research stuff all day. But I think the biggest problem with, like, I would just say, like the people I know who I was trying to explain, different things to them, is that you get on you get on the defense and you don't want to listen. When all you have to do is just read the book, read for yourself. I'm not saying you need to just go ahead and just convert over just like that, but just read. If you read the Quran, if you just read one chapter, you're going to want to read more, and the more you want to read, it's going to convict you, and you're going to see that this is the way that this is the way God wants everyone, the path, the guidance that He wants everyone to follow.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so, did you ever feel any spiritual experiences where God was trying to send you some messages, to showing you that you should convert to Islam?
I think my husband was my the biggest sign. Him doing it before me, because I've always been more of a spirit. I thought I was more of a spiritual person than him, and when he um, converted, and I saw such a difference in him, I knew I believe that was my sign that this is the best way for us to go. Um,
And so, what sort of differences did you see in your husband?
just his devotion to reading the Quran. Like he is in, like definitely in it. And he started wearing. I'm not for sure what you call, the hat that the men wear. He's been wearing that. Um, just his whole demeanor, like not saying that he wasn't a nice person. He's always been a sweetheart, but his whole demeanor, like his whole outlook of things, the way he talks, and like the way he was, like I would say he's like he was more gentle. Like he wanted to, like he's always he's always been that type of person, but it was just a difference about him. I can't explain it, but I know, like we were Christians, they would say if you can see God working on someone, and that's how I feel. I saw God working on him. I saw a different a different man. Like he even started to look different to me. Like the way he talked, the way he like carried himself. He just carried his, he just seemed like a different person to me. You know?
Yeah, I said the same thing to so many people when I converted as well. I felt like my life had turned around 180% and I was a totally different person.
Mm, yeah, it's like I don't know, like he was enlightened. Like he looked at he seemed like he really seemed like a different of course I knew he's my husband, but like he just seemed his whole demeanor just seemed totally different. He just seemed totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it will only get better if the more go towards God, then the more He will run towards you. So this is a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your day of conversion and what happened and how were you feeling on that day?
I was excited. Um, we went to the mosque. We got there kind of early. We were waiting. And one of the brothers got the imam, and he came in and he had got some sisters as the witnesses. Um, and then I went ahead and accepted Islam, and everyone was so welcoming. Well, like they were so welcoming. One of the mothers, like soon as I said, that God has no partners, and after I said everything, she just handed me like I guess like some candy and just shoved it in my mouth. Like she was just so everybody was just so welcoming. And then we went to the section for the women. After we listened to the prayer, they announced that I had just converted over, and all the sisters came over and gave me a hug. They gave me their numbers. They were like, if you had any questions, you can reach out to us. Um, they they had like a WhatsApp app, and they added me to that, and like they constantly check on me. Like it was just a warm feeling of just sisterhood. I was really embraced by them.
Excellent. And that's is that the mosque? Is it close to your place?
Yeah, it is. It's actually like maybe less than a mile away from us. Yeah.
Okay, that will be handy
Yeah.
then. That will be handy when you want to start interacting with more Muslims.
Yeah, yeah. Now it was different because I'm used to church. You go to church and on a Sunday, and you come in, they have worship. They're singing and dancing, um, and then the pastor gives a message for tithes, and then you give your tithe and offers, and then he gives the message. It was totally different. You know, this was as far as when we came in. We came in for a purpose only, and that was to sit and worship God. It wasn't sitting around talking, and and it's a lot of other things that just be going on in church, but it was a moment just to sit there and connect with Him. Like when I first got there, everyone was prostrating. They were sitting down and in silence at first. And some people were reading, some people had their heads down. It was just you can just feel God in the building, just coming. This is just a place for Him. This is what you're supposed to. And I see the difference as far as like when we were in church, we all were together. Me and my husband sat together, so that was a little different for me. I was like, where are you going? He's like, well, you have to go over here. He's like, He's like, we don't pray together. And I was like, oh, because I was following him at first. I'm like, where are you about to go?
Okay, great. Okay, so Shavon, we're going to have to wrap it up now. So thank you so much for sharing all of that story of how you converted. It's a beautiful story, and I'm really amazed that you've only been in Islam for 2 months now, and you really seem to have embraced it the way you have. Could you give us some advice to anyone out there, to any of our listeners who are thinking about accepting Islam? Can you give some advice on what they should do?
I would say pray first. Pray to God. Ask Him to show you the way that you're supposed to go. Because I constantly did that. I kept saying, God, show me the way to you. And be open minded. You know, don't be afraid to venture out and read the Quran. It's not going to hurt you to read the Quran. People be afraid like, oh, if I read it, they just don't want to pick it up and read the book. But you have to be open minded. You have to do the research for yourself. You know, don't be afraid, because whatever religion you are, once you read the Quran, you will see this is the religion that God has for all of us. This is what He made for all of us to be, and it's the only way to Him. So I would the advice I would say is to definitely be open minded. Don't be afraid. Don't just shut it out, and read the Quran for yourself to make sure that this is the way that you want to go.
Okay, Shavon, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It was
Right.
great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, yeah. So let's keep in touch, and also may the peace of God be upon you, and also to all our listeners out there.
Thank you, inshallah.